Hello everyone, I'm back again with another wonderful story of a wonderful girl, young girl by the name of Joan of Arc. One has to really admire this young girl because of the immense courage that she has put forward before the entire world. She's a very popular figure in history, literature, art, and as well as sculpture. And why I say that she should be an inspiration is because she did something extraordinary at a young age of around 19. So, at a time when youngsters enjoy their life, she did something that the world will never forget. And what is it that we will get to hear in this lovely story called Joan of Arc? She was born at a time when the Hundred Years' War was going on, which started from 1337 to 1453. This war was being fought between England and France over the succession as to who is going to become the next king of France. So, since there was conflict within France with the succession of the throne, the people took the help of, or a certain group of people took the help of England, because one has to remember that during those times England was the most powerful country in the entire world, and everywhere the colonies were set uh, with England. So, being a powerful country, if any other country had an issue, they would always ask for the help from England, and that was why this 100 years war was going on. Joan of Arc was born during that time, and from a young age of 13, she would get this weird kind of visions where she would see, or rather meet, angels and saints. Now, she was born in a peasant family, a farmer's family. So, she would go to tend the cattle, the sheep, and during that time, she would see these visions. And what would these visions, or what would these people in the visions tell her? They would ask her that God wants her to fight for France against England. So she should go and approach the King of France and convince them that she has divine power with which she will go on to free France from England. Of course, initially she never believed it, and since she was very small, she thought it was something very impossible. But as she started growing up, by the time she reached the age of around 16 to 17, these visions became more and more vivid, more and more regular. And finally, she felt probably there was a reality in it. Why not go and meet the King of France? This is that humble house in which she lived along with her parents. Today it's converted into a museum in memory of Joan of Arc in France. So, keeping in mind her visions, thinking it to be a reality, she did go to meet the Dauphin. Now, one should remember that a Dauphin means the eldest son of the king in France, who is going to become the next heir to the throne. And this Dauphin was no one else but Charles the Seventh. He too was a very young man during that time when the Hundred Years' War was going on, and when Joan of Arc went to meet him, he was around 23 years old. And since he had felt that England is more powerful, and realizing that many parts of France had already been taken over by England, instead of fighting and showing his courage, he had gone on to take refuge, hide himself along with his family in one of the cities of France called Chinon. And that was one reason why the soldiers of France were upset with the Dauphin. And so during this time, Joan of Arc went to meet him and promised him that she would free Orleans. Orleans was the next important place which England had an eye on. So she promised him that. Of course, initially the Dauphin did not believe her because she was too small, a very young girl. But then finally he felt, as it is, England was defeating France. France was getting defeated. Why not believe in this girl? And he felt some kind of divine power when she was talking with him. So he thought of giving it a shot. All right, let's see what this young girl can do. And he did say a yes. She asked only three things from him. Number one was a horse, second was an armor, and third, she said, was she wanted only around 3 to 4 soldiers whom she knew very well, the generals rather. The Dauphin agreed, Charles VII agreed, and she went on to wage a war against England with the help of the rest of the soldiers. The soldiers later on went on to say that she was an inspiration. The way she fought in the battle went on to inspire the soldiers. I have deliberately shown you the map of France out over here to make you understand much better the Hundred Years' War. You can see England out over there, and the color of England is also being flashed, or rather being seen out even in many parts of France, trying to indicate that these places of France already had been taken over by England. And over here you have Chinon, the place where the Dauphin, along with his family, was staying, and where Joan of Arc went to meet him. And here you have Orleans with a yellow star, which is still in France and which England very much wanted it. So this was the kind of a map in those days during the Hundred Years' War which was going on. So finally, we have Joan of Arc waging a war, fighting in the battle, and to everyone's dismay and amazement, she proved her word. She actually went on to create fear in the eyes of England. So much so that they were not able to fight and they started to retreat. They were forced to retreat. And they finally went on to sign a treaty with Charles VII. And Charles VII was crowned the King of France in the presence of Joan of Arc and the rest of the people of France. So she kept her word. She really proved that she had the divine power, that God Himself wished France to become free from England. And that was truly a great miracle that this young girl had brought up. But it did not remain for long. There were many enemies of not only Charles VII, but also of Joan of Arc. And to one's surprise, these enemies were not outsiders, but the very people of France. Within France itself, there were many people who were against Joan of Arc and who were against Charles VII also. So what do these people do? They went on to shake hands with once again with England. They conspired against Charles VII, and one fine day, without anybody's knowledge, they arrested Joan of Arc because they felt if this girl remains in the country, she is going to become a powerful lady. And remember one thing, during that time, the society always looked down upon women, and therefore they did not want this to happen. So she was arrested and brought before the Church of England. Now, why the Church of England? Let us understand that in those days, the church played a very important role. It was more powerful than the ruler of England also. Throughout the world, whatever the Church of England declared had to be followed by the Western and the European countries. So Joan of Arc was brought before the cardinal. She was questioned as to what kind of visions she was getting. She was questioned whether really she had the divine power. They could not find any criminal charges against her, but at the same time, they did not want to leave her free. Something or the other, they wanted to catch hold of her and keep her and put her to death and not let her leave and go to France. They could not find any evidences, so for a long period of time, she was kept in this castle, which is today called as the Joan of Arc Tower. One will be surprised to know that she attempted to jump from this tower to escape herself, but she couldn't. She was caught back and placed once again into the tower. Sad enough, they could not impose any charges against her. So finally, they sentenced her to death on the charge of cross dressing. Now, what is cross dressing? Just as today our young girls wear trousers, wear jeans, wear t shirts, it's allowed, the society accepts it. But in those days, a girl wearing trousers, a girl wearing male clothing, a girl going to fight in a war like a soldier was considered to be a big offense. And this was the charge that was put on Joan of Arc. And the sentence given to her by England, by the Church of England, was burnt alive to death. A very cruel punishment, and she was just 19 years old when this sentence was given to her. She was tied to a pole and she was burnt not once but twice. Twice because they were so much against her that they felt not even a smallest of remains of her flesh or her bones should remain back. Therefore, her body was burnt twice. What a cruelty on a young girl who had not done anything, rather, who had helped her own country. So, finally, on 30th of May 1431, Joan of Arc died. But the world could not forget her. Nearly after 500 years, the Catholic Church realized that what it had done, what England had done, was very, very wrong against a young girl. And therefore, on 16th May 1920, she was declared as a saint. And Napoleon Bonaparte went on to declare her as the national heroine and a symbol of France. Today, in on her birth and on her death, France gets a holiday, a national holiday is declared, and they remember her not only in France but throughout the entire world. And today she is venerated as a saint. She's called as Saint Joan of Arc. Young women, young girls, soldiers, farmers pray to her for blessings, pray to her when they are in difficulty and they want some of their wishes to come to be true. So this is how today she's respected, not only when it comes to religion but also in the world history. She should be a great inspiration for all of us. Reason is because at an age when most of our youngsters are caught up with parties, are caught up in the world of enjoyment, here is an example of a young girl who tells us that age doesn't matter when it comes to sacrificing for one's country, when it comes to doing a good deed for one's country and countrymen. So let this girl be an inspiration for all of us. Let us understand what she wanted to tell us. Let us know the emotions and the feelings that she went through as a young girl. Keeping this her as an inspiration, I would like to end my story. Hope you enjoyed it all. If you liked my story, do subscribe to my videos so that you get to hear such motivational stories all the more. If you have liked it, do click on the like button. If you want to comment and help me to create better videos, do so. I'll be really thankful. Good day, goodbye, and God bless you all.